to say it throughout. This is the United States of America. We've got the First Amendment, and there is such a protection of speech. I know people want to get rid of the First Amendment. I know the tech companies want to get rid of the First Amendment, but in courtrooms it still exists, so it's such a huge burden to try to prove defamation. Whether Johnny's trying to prove it against Amber, Amber against Johnny, it's always an uphill battle, especially if it's a celebrity and a public figure. So I think if anyone gets a verdict of liability for defamation anytime in this country, it is a long shot. Against a celebrity or involving a celebrity, it is an even longer shot. But I think they put forth the best possible case they could.
I think they went a long way today.
Was that vague enough for you, Michael?
That was
that
but let me tell you this. I think they went a long way today towards achieving that malice standard by showing that there may have been these doctored photos. I think if they get the jury to believe that, I think that's instant malice, instant reckless disregard for the truth.
Oh, absolutely. If you believe, and again, if you believe that the photos were doctored, that there's any level of trying to pull one over here, trying to lie to the jury, pull off this elaborate hoax, then yes, if they believe that the friends lied for her, if they believe that she doctored photos or put on makeup or hit herself, it's over. It's over. And your show's over, Michael.
Yes, it is. But yours is coming right up. I'm Michael Ayala. Stay with us here on Court TV. Vinnie Politan in Closing Arguments next.
There are people out there using my art to express themselves.
Society 6, designed by artists, made by us, just for you.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard met in 2009. They became a couple in 2011. They got married in 2015 and split up in 2016. It was a relationship filled with extremes: love, hate, passion, and jealousy. And all those emotions were brought out inside the courtroom in Fairfax, Virginia during the last 6 weeks in their dueling defamation trial. Today, Amber was back on the stand.
This is painful, and this is humiliating for any human being.
Telling the jury about all the public backlash she's now facing.
I am harassed, humiliated, threatened.
But he has told the world that he's your victim of domestic abuse, hasn't he?
Well, he started to say that only recently.
But tonight, all the evidence is in. All the witnesses have testified and both parties have rested. We are live from Fairfax on this closing argument eve with all the big moments and a look ahead to what will happen tomorrow when the jury gets the case. I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us on this closing argument eve in Fairfax County, Virginia, here on Closing Arguments. What a big night. What a big moment right now. I mean, this case has taken on a life of its own, and in the next couple of hours, we're going to go through it all and get you ready for the biggest day of all, which is tomorrow. Closing arguments, and then this jury getting the opportunity to finally deliberate and tell Johnny Depp, tell Amber Heard, and tell the world what happened in this relationship and what they believe happened in this relationship. But when you think about this case and the story, this is really, I think, another moment to take a step back and think about the people involved here. And starting with Johnny Depp. I mean, Johnny Depp, I met Johnny Depp, not personally, but on television, 21 Jump Street. Big show. He was like the breakout star of that. I thought it was going to be Dom DeLuise's son. Turned out to be Johnny Depp. But that's where he made his mark, his first mark. And he went from 21 Jump Street into becoming one of the most famous movie actors in the world. With just a whole litany of hit after hit, quirky part, from Cry Baby to Donnie Brasco, Edward Scissorhands, all the way to Captain Jack Sparrow, and became not only a famous movie actor, but the most successful in terms of money, setting the Guinness Book of World Records for being the highest paid actor of all time back in 2012. Kind of around the time he started his relationship with Amber Heard, by the way. Now, for Johnny Depp, he's got that, right? That no one's ever going to take that away from him, his movie career. But there was the other part of Johnny Depp, the tabloids that would follow him being so famous, and he became really the classic bad boy, right? People knew that he drank a little bit, liked to party, rock and roll, played in the band, you know, went around with very beautiful women, and, you know, maybe trashed a few rooms here and there. Classic Hollywood bad boy behavior. And that became part of who Johnny Depp was and how he was known. But for Amber Heard, before she came into court here in Virginia, the road's much different. Now we heard about her Star is Born moment, right? There was testimony about that from one of her experts, and yeah, it was happening for her in her career. It took a little longer than it took for Johnny Depp, but finally Aquaman, you know, major role in a big, huge blockbuster movie, and that's starting to become her moment. But now here in Fairfax County, Virginia, this may be the role that she gets remembered for. Because who knows where her acting career goes from here. Johnny Depp's already had his acting career. It's over. So he'll always be known as an actor, a bad boy. Amber Heard, what will she be known for? Will she be known as an actor? or will she be known for what happened in the courthouse behind me? So today, her last opportunity to speak, I think to this point became her biggest role ever. Take a look.
How have you suffered publicly as a result of the Depp-Waldman statements?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. I am harassed, humiliated, threatened every single day. Even just walking into this courtroom, sitting here in front of the world, having the worst parts of my life, things I've lived through, used to humiliate me. People want to kill me, and they tell me so every day. People want to put my baby in the microwave, and they tell me that. Johnny threatened, promised me that if I ever left him, he'd make me think of him every single day that I lived.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
All right, I'll sustain the objection as to that. If you want to ask the question.
Amber, how did Mr. Depp's statements and threats to you that you were discussing, how do those continue to manifest themselves today?
In the harassment and the humiliation, the campaign against me that's echoed every single day on social media and now in front of cameras in this room. Every single day I have to relive the trauma. My hands shake, I wake up screaming. I have to live with the trauma and the damage done to me. My friends have to live with a set of unspoken rules about how to not scare me.
Objection, hearsay.
Yes, sir.
Unspoken rules
Overruled. Go ahead.
about how to not touch me, not to surprise me. My intimate partners have rules about how they can deal with me, how they can touch me. I have rules for doctors and medical professionals I see, gynecologists I see. I live my life with these sets of rules that I have to follow, my friends have to follow for me not to have a panic attack or a triggering event where I relive the trauma. Even if I'm training to do my movie, for instance, if I'm training for Aquaman, a combat scene and a trigger happens, I have a meltdown and have to deal with that. The crew I work with have to deal with that because of the damage I walk around with every single day from what I've lived through, from what I've survived. I'm not sitting in this courtroom snickering. I'm not sitting in this courtroom laughing, smiling, and making snide jokes. I'm not. This is horrible. This is painful. And this is humiliating for any human being to go through. And perhaps it's easy to forget that, but I'm a human being. And even though Johnny promised that I deserve this and promised he'd do this, I don't deserve this. I want to move on.
I don't deserve this. I want to move on. I mean, for Amber Heard, think about, her world, her life. It's about what happened in this courthouse in the last 6 weeks. That's how the world knows her. That's what she's known for. Let me bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, who's been here throughout. Great to be back here, Chanley, by the way.
Glad to have you back.
It's such a contrast, the way I look at it. What happens to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp as a result of this trial and the way it's impacted them, much different. And you can just see it in the way they testify and the way they comport themselves inside and outside of the courthouse.
And the fans that show up here, majority support Johnny Depp. We've seen a few more this week for Amber Heard that are showing up for her each day, but that just, to me, symbolizes the bigger picture, the court of public opinion here, very much in favor of Johnny Depp and his fans controlling this narrative for the most part. If you look online, there are some articles in favor of Amber Heard, but it's just overwhelmingly in support of Johnny Depp.
And I think part of that is the and I think a huge part of it, is the life and the career he had before this trial.
Yeah.
The career that Amber Heard didn't have. She was, her experts, I think, were right on that. Aquaman was the big role. That was the big role for her, right?
Right.
And where she would go from there, without all of this, we don't know. But she never got to the point, because there are different points of life. He's much older than she is and been acting much longer. So I'm wondering how the jury understands this and looks at it, because it seems like Amber Heard claiming the damage from the statements made by his attorney, the damage really is from going through this trial.
Yeah, you would think so.
That's where the damage is from, and I don't know if you get, if that's part of your reward at the end, but that's what she was saying today.
That is what she was saying on the stand. She's like, look at this trial, that I am living out what I wrote in the op-ed. I will endure the wrath of the culture by speaking out that I am a victim. And she says, I'm proving it each day here. It's so much so, Vinnie, that she is jeered and booed when she arrives at this courthouse every day, when she leaves the courthouse every day. We know that her team turns the volume up in her vehicle so she doesn't have to hear it when she comes and goes from the courthouse, and the gallery packed full of Johnny Depp fans. And the jury notices that. They take in. And
she notices it. She feels it inside there. Let's take a listen to more of her testimony, because this is real stuff. I mean, when you have a very public trial, which is what Johnny Depp wanted.
Right.
There's no doubt Johnny Depp wanted this public trial. The public trial he didn't get in the UK. That was not a public trial. You can say it was a public trial. It was. They didn't get to see it. Everyone's seeing it here. Let's take a listen to more of Amber Heard here talking about death threats.
I receive hundreds of death threats regularly, if not daily. Thousands since this trial has started. People mocking my testimony about being assaulted, making fun of my...
Objection, relevance, non-responsive.
That's the damages. You can continue.
It's been agonizing, painful, and the most humiliating thing I've ever had to go through. I hope no one ever has to go through something like this. I just want Johnny to leave me alone. I just want him to leave me alone.
Okay, so Chanley, a lot of what she's talking about there is the mocking that's taking place, and we see it. I mean, you see it online, you see it especially on TikTok. I mean, it's taken on a life of its own. But the mocking is coming from people who don't believe her.
Right.
The mocking is coming from people who believe that she has falsely accused someone of horrific events. And to me, that comes down to, okay, well, there's two people telling their story, and they're not believing her. But today in court, was there anything different about the nature of her testimony in her last opportunity to convince the seven who will be deliberating?
It was so obvious to watch her on the stand. Of course, she was confident and emotional and direct, but Vinnie, once cross began, she was more defiant. If you remember when she was on the stand the first time, she wasn't as combative with Camille Vasquez as she was today. She was defensive, she wanted to finish what she was saying, and more argumentative, and that was very apparent, and it came across as acrimonious inside the courtroom, and it was a statement, I think, for her, knowing she had the final word, to stand up for what she believes is the truth.
Yeah, and it's difficult, and whichever side you're on, and most of you, I know which side you are on, but whichever side you're on, someone here is lying. And it's a really bad lie to falsely accuse someone of sexual assault and abuse, and especially today, that is outrageous behavior. Sexually assaulting someone is outrageous behavior as well. So one or the other is committing this horrific offense, and neither side is budging one bit. Let's take a listen, though, to more of Amber Heard, and this is kind of her talking about and this is similar to what Johnny Depp said, I think, trying to get her voice back and be heard and be able to tell her truth.
What do you hope to reclaim after this is over?
protecting the secret that I did for as long as I did has taken enough of my voice. Johnny has taken enough of my voice. I have the right to tell my story. I have the right to say what happened to me. I have the right to my voice and my name. He took it long enough. I have a right as an American to talk about what happened to me, to own my story and my truth. I have that right. I hope to get my voice back. It's all I want. And I've said that from day one.
That statement, similar to what Johnny said in a much different way, but I think that really brings us back to the importance of this trial. You know, a lot of people will say, well, it's just Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, blah. No. The importance of this trial is the freedom to speak, right?
Right.
But not the freedom to defame someone. And you know, that's the only time that our freedoms are supposed to be, you know, kind of like, all right, you can't say that. Like, you can say whatever you want, but you can't purposely lie about someone. And one or the other is lying about.
Yes.
And that is such a fundamental part of our Constitution.
Absolutely.
It's the First Amendment. That's what this case is about.
It is, and I think that's what we're going to hear first thing in Amber Heard's closing tomorrow. She had a First Amendment right to say what she said. It was a matter of public concern here that she was speaking about in that 2018 op-ed. And she even talked about that on the stand, saying, I have a right to say this. As an American, I have a right to express what I said. And she said, that's why I wrote the op-ed, because of how people have treated him and treated her over the years. So I think that's going to be a huge theme in closing arguments, and something legally that this jury is going to have to figure out under Virginia law,
And
whether or not it was a First Amendment speech issue.
And I think it's something that the millions of people who are following this trial need to think about as well, right? Because people spew on social media day in and day out, but you can't just say whatever you want. You can't defame people, and this is like highlighting that to such a degree, because you have these two people that hate each other, that know each other, and we know one of them is absolutely lying. All right, we've got a lot more to get to. Chanley Painters was the whole hour, folks. Don't worry. She's staying right here, not allowed to leave. When we come back, we're going to talk about the cross-examination of Amber Heard today, which was really another sequel, right? Another sequel here in Fairfax, Virginia, of Camille Vasquez versus Amber Heard. You'll see it. Don't go anywhere.
Download the free app now.
Ms. Heard, you just testified that this case has been very hard for you. So let's talk about that and why.
All right.
Your lies have been exposed to the world multiple times, right?
I haven't lied about anything I've been here to say.
Welcome back. Round 2 of the cross-examination. Camille Vasquez versus Amber Heard took place today in the courthouse behind you. I'm Vinnie Politan. We are here. This is closing argument eve. Tomorrow, the big, big day. Last opportunity to convince these jurors. Then we'll be on a verdict watch. And as you know, verdict can happen at any moment. So once you start watching tomorrow, you can't turn off court TV until I let you turn it off, okay? Let's take you back inside the courtroom because this was, it didn't last as long as the first time, but it was just as intense. Again, Camille Vasquez versus Amber Heard.
At the beginning of your cross-examination last week, I showed you an audio where you told Mr. Depp to tell the jury, tell the judge, tell the world that he is a victim of domestic abuse. Do you remember that?
That's correct.
And you testified you found it hard to believe that Mr. Depp would tell the world that he's a victim of domestic abuse, didn't you?
I said I find it hard to believe that he would do that knowing that he himself had beat me up for 5 years.
But he has told the world that he's your victim of domestic abuse, hasn't he?
Well, he started to say that only recently. He didn't make that claim up until very recently. So when we signed our divorce agreement and we signed a statement saying that neither party had ever said false claims for financial gain, it was relevant and important to me because I was the only one making the accusations. I was the only one making those claims. He wasn't doing that at the time, and he signed his name to it.
You didn't expect as many people to show up and testify on his behalf that did you?
Incorrect.
When you told this jury under oath that you never assaulted, actually, strike that, sorry, Your Honor. When you told this jury under oath that you punched Mr. Depp because you thought of Mr. Depp pushing Kate Moss down the stairs, you didn't expect Ms. Moss to agree to testify that that never happened, did you?
Incorrect. I know how many people will come out of the woodwork to be in support of Johnny.
So you think Ms. Moss needs to come out of the
woodwork
woodwork to testify for Mr. Depp?
Everybody who was around in the 90s and the early aughts knew that rumor. I had heard that rumor from multiple people. Of course, that's what flashed through my head when my violent husband not only swung for me, but all of a sudden swung for my sister. Of course I thought of that. I did not expect her to show up or not expect her to show up. It didn't matter. It doesn't change what I believed at the time when we were on the stairs and I thought he was gonna kill my sister by pushing her down the stairs.
You told this jury under oath that Mr. Depp was aggressive and trashed a trailer in Hicksville. You didn't expect the manager of the Hicksville property, Morgan Knight, to come forward and testify that that was untrue, did you?
Incorrect. I've already been through trials with this man. I know how many people will come out in support of him.
When you told this jury under oath that you had no idea that the paparazzi would be at the courthouse on May 27th, 2016, you didn't expect a TMZ employee to show up to testify that TMZ had been alerted that you would be at the courthouse and knew exactly which side of your face to take a picture of, did you?
I know how many people will come out and say whatever for him. That's his power. That's why I wrote the op-ed. I was speaking to that phenomenon. How many people will come out in support of him and will fall to his power? He is a very powerful man, and people love currying favor with powerful men.
Currying
and I know
favor
that
and
firsthand. I've
risking
lived
jail
it.
time for committing perjury?
Excuse me? I didn't hear your question.
You didn't hear
Excuse
my
me?
question?
Ms. Vasquez, if you do mind, please just repeat the question. I didn't hear you.
Curry favor and commit perjury in this courtroom?
I have
For a
seen people do
powerful
this.
man?
I have seen people do this time and time again. That's why I wrote the op-ed.
My favorite Camille comeback was in that little segment. Kate Moss coming out of the woodwork? Like, she's not like someone looking for her 15 minutes of fame. I mean, she's had a lot more fame than, probably as much as Johnny Depp. I mean, she's like one of the most famous supermodels of all time. Okay. Chanley Painter still with me. Chanley, this battle is, I think, will be one of the takeaways from the trial forever. People will talk, people talk about Juan Martinez versus Jodi Arias. They'll be talking about Camille Vasquez versus Amber Heard the same way.
Oh, yeah. This was, I believe, the biggest moment of the entire trial because it was the final moment the jury heard, right? And it was the cross-examination we witnessed days ago, but a whole nother level. Like, this was intense. I mean, you could just feel it. It was palpable inside that courtroom when they were going back and forth. At one point, the jury, Vinny, was like, question, answer, question. I'll use pickleball. I know you like pickleball back and forth.
I love pickleball.
A little bit faster probably than the pickleball, but yeah, that's what they were doing, taking it all in. Some of the jurors would look down, not look at Amber Heard a lot of the times, which was consistent with when she was previously on the stand. And it was effective, it seemed, when she put those photos of May 27th on the screen and then May 28th after the TRO with the bruise. Juror number 9 was like leaning in, studying the monitor in front of him to try to determine did he see a bruise or not. So it was a huge moment inside the courtroom.
And this whole case is really, if you break it down, you can say it's about Johnny Depp's credibility, the credibility of other witnesses. It's really about the credibility of Amber Heard, because the basis of Johnny's claim, the basis of her claim, is whether or not her allegations against Johnny Depp of abusing her, sexually abusing her, are true or not.
That's right. That's her ultimate defense, too, against his claim of defamation, is she has to prove it is true, right, and that she had a right to say these things. So it all is about truth here.
And this isn't a criminal case, folks. Doesn't have to be proven. She doesn't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the allegations, and he doesn't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she's lying. It's like this. Who do you believe? Just this much more. And I think that's the road to victory for Johnny Depp, if he can get the jury to think of the whole case that way. Just whose story do you believe a little bit more, and that's who wins. Now, I think the legal burden's a little greater than that because there's other elements to it. But if they can get the jury into that mode, that's how they actually win this case.
Right, and it's difficult to do. It's difficult to do actual malice here because they're public figures.
Right.
It's a little tougher standard, clear and convincing evidence. But if they truly believe that she is lying, that she set him up, then he wins.
This is, now, there was another battle taking place in court today, and you picked up on something that I missed today, which was Johnny Depp and some sort of interaction with Amber Heard's legal team?
That's right, Vinny. So I'm sitting in the courtroom, as you probably saw, and it's a very long sidebar right before Camille starts her cross-examination. We're all sitting there, keeping busy. I notice Johnny Depp turning his body, looking this direction, past Ben Chu. And I'm wondering who he's looking at. Well, I see Elaine, and I think we're going to show it, but zoom out here. This is him turning his body, and see him leaning forward. He's looking at Elaine Brenhoff, who's sitting at counsel table, and he starts motioning like, come on over. Want to fight? Come on over.
Wow.
Come on. And then Ben puts his arm on him, calm down, and he kind of laughs it off and turns around. That was something else to see.
Now, something else that it tells me about the whole dynamics, and getting back to how we started this show, is what this trial means and where they are in their lives and everything else. It's almost as if, while Johnny Depp brought this to get his name back, at this point where we are, I feel like she has more at stake right now than Johnny Depp does.
Absolutely.
Like, Johnny Depp can walk away from this, he can lose, and I don't think a loss for Johnny Depp would impact him as much as a loss for Amber Heard would impact her.
I totally agree with you, and I think that being here so long this week, seeing the fans, seeing the response to him in the courtroom, his demeanor, he's always upbeat. It's like nothing's really getting to him, and he said it on the stand. He said no matter the outcome of this case, he wanted it out there. He wanted his time on the witness stand, his story being told, and he's accomplished that.
And he may have accomplished something else, and this comes from Amber Heard's testimony today, where she talked about the impact all this has had on her, how devastating this has been. I mean, the vibe I'm getting is that's part of what Johnny wanted. I mean, Johnny wanted Amber to feel some of the pain that he felt being ostracized in the press, in the media. On her, it's social media. Him, it was, the paparazzi, the tabloids, everybody else going after him. So I think he wanted her to feel the pain that he felt, and she's already told the world and told him today that she's felt that.
Absolutely, and she did so. It was a poignant moment. I mean, she's turning to the jury at the verge of tears, telling them that someone threatened to microwave her baby. I mean, I can't even imagine.
It's horrible stuff that people are saying.
Right.
Like, you're threatening a child, a baby. Don't do that. Why would you ever say that? I mean, at the end of the day, she's a mom. She's got a child. Let's give that child a chance, for goodness sake. Why would we even go there?
Right.
But it's so true how devastating I think a loss would be for Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp. And we'll see. We'll see. All right, when we come back, Chanley Painter's here, not allowed to leave because she is going to lay out for us exactly what is going to happen tomorrow. Closing arguments. Where's everybody going to be? Who's going to go first? Where does the jury go? What happens if the jury comes to a verdict tomorrow? What happens next? All your questions answered so you're prepared for tomorrow.
Your next witness?
Your Honor, the counterclaimant Amber Heard rests.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard all the evidence you're going to hear in this matter. What I propose doing is to go ahead and give you the rest of the afternoon off so you can have a good restful afternoon and evening, and we will do closing arguments tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., and then the case will be submitted to you for deliberations.
There's the judge waiting for those words that she's been waiting for weeks. You know, both sides have rested. All right, all the evidence is in. That means closing arguments, jury instructions, then it's time for the jury to deliberate. So what we're going to do right now is break down exactly what's going to happen tomorrow so you are prepared. But first, let's go back to the judge since she gave us a little indication about how late they may go tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I won't give you a time limit as far as how long you can deliberate in the afternoon into the evening. I will tell you, within reason, I will tell you I do not serve dinner, so keep that in mind, okay? You will not be deliberating on Saturday or Sunday or Monday, because Monday is a holiday. I would like you to have you back here Tuesday morning, at least by 9 o'clock. If you want to come earlier, that's up to you. You can decide as a group if you want to come earlier than 9 o'clock, but you have to be here at least by 9 o'clock to resume your deliberations again. And again on Tuesday night, and if you have to go to Wednesday or Thursday, that the time that when you take your breaks is up to you, as long as you take them together as far as not having any deliberations unless all of the jurors are in the room at the same time. When you take your lunch is up to you. And then again in the evening, within reason, I'll let you go as long as you'd like to go.
No verdict pizza. No verdict pizza for this jury tomorrow night. They're not going to get fed, so they'll go, I guess, until they get really hungry or they reach a verdict. Verdict can happen at any moment, folks. Anyone that tells you anything else is lying. They are absolutely lying to you. It doesn't matter how long the trial is. How long was the O.J. Simpson trial? It was like 9 months. How long were the deliberations? Within hours. Within hours. And that was a criminal case. So you need to be standing by all day tomorrow once this jury gets the case. Anyhow, let me bring back in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter. Chanley, let's start with the closing arguments. How is this going to go? Who goes first? Who goes second? Who's going to speak? How much time do they have? I have a lot of questions.
I got the lowdown.
Okay.
But we don't want a hangry jury. I mean, I can't work hangry.
No.
So we got to get some verdict pizza for us.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
for us.
Definitely. So, of course, closing arguments at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Okay? So each side will, of course, be read the jury instructions first.
Jury instructions first?
Yes, jury instructions first from the judge, which were hammered out today.
Okay.
By the attorneys. And then we'll hear closing arguments. Now, each side has 2 hours to make their case before this jury. Vinny, we do know who's going to give the closings.
Okay.
We have Ben Chu and Camille Vasquez for Johnny Depp.
Okay, so they'll split it.
They will split up the 2 hours like openings. They split the openings. And then same for Amber Heard's team. The same 2 attorneys who gave her openings will be giving her closings. We have, of course, Elaine Bredhoff and Benjamin Rottenborn will split up the time for the closings. And then there's an order that they'll go in.
Okay, what's the order?
So we have Johnny Depp first. He's the plaintiff. He filed this suit. He will have his first close. Then Amber Heard will present her closing and response to Johnny's close.
Right.
And then we have Depp's rebuttal closing.
Which is the rebuttal to Heard.
Counterclaim.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Got it. So Johnny's claim against Amber, they make their argument. Then Amber has to respond to that. Then after she responds to that, then she has to make her argument for her claim. Then Johnny can respond to her argument for her claim. But they only get 2 hours total for all of that.
Right. Amber gets the last word, but only about her counterclaim.
Only about the counterclaim. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, next question. I had to write them down here because I have so many of them, Chanley, tonight. Okay. Oh, tell us about the jurors.
Okay, I could spend all night telling you about these jurors. I've stared at them, hopefully in a non-creepy way, for about 6 weeks now. But I put together a chart because I know you've been in the courtroom.
Yes.
It's kind of an odd courtroom where the jury is
They have their own little cubby, their own little alcove.
Right? Alcove, exactly. So this is what they look like as they sit up there in the jury box. We've lost 2 jurors excused along the weeks, as you know, as well.
Okay.
So we have 6 men, 3 women. Several appear to be of Asian descent. A couple of
3 young men, upper left.
Yes.
That's huge. That's a block right there. They may think alike, they may not, but you know, same sort of young.
Yep.
Wow.
And we got a young man on the front row. Now I have to say, juror 2, 8, and 9, the most reactive throughout the trial. So
interesting.
Juror number 2 seems to get a real big kick out of Johnny Depp when he's on the witness stand.
And that's a young guy.
It's a young guy. Juror number 9, same way. He likes to just cut his eyes over. He makes some funny expressions at times during testimony, especially if there's lots of objections and it's contentious back and forth. Juror number 8 seems to be very thoughtful. She has a great position. She's right across from Johnny Depp where he sits at counsel table, so she will take him in a lot of the time. She'll even look over to her and take her in a lot of the time. So, and she's one of those polite, you know, kind of nods like she's listening to testimony. So that's a look.
And we have to see 2 of these jurors will not make it, so that will really, I think, give us an idea about the dynamic inside there, because you could have, you know, an older man, an older woman, and I say older, my age, okay, my age, that's older, right? And then you've got all these young men and a young woman in there. It could be very interesting, dynamic.
3, 4, 5, 6, no idea what they're thinking.
Unbelievable. Okay. Verdict watch. Okay, jury gets the case. They're deliberating. And then we know at that moment, at any point, they can all agree because it's only 7. So it should be quicker than 12. 7 quicker than 12.
Yeah, makes sense. So we know that we likely will be back after the holiday, though. That's what the judge is anticipating. She told the jury today.
Wait a minute. I just told everyone at home. Anyone tells you they think they know when this jury's coming back is lying to you. When I give you my theorem, it's when an average jury would come back, all right? So maybe an average jury will come back after the holiday, but it's a Friday.
Does your theorem apply to a civil and criminal case?
Yeah, but you have half as many jurors. It's a Friday before a holiday weekend. That is a speed-up factor, major speed-up factor.
And no dinner.
And no dinner means they can't go late. That means by 7 o'clock, they're feeling the pain, especially those young men, because I've got them in my house, young men. When they get hungry, they're done doing anything else. Okay, so what are the protocols? What happens when the jury says, hey, we've reached a verdict?
Yeah, so we do know that the movie stars don't have to wait at the courthouse. They can waive their appearance for any jury question, which there's no readback, FYI, if there's no readback here. But they will have a laptop in that deliberation room with all the exhibits on it. They can pull up, watch whatever they want to look at, photos, whatever it may be. And then, you know, if no verdict Friday, we will be back on Tuesday by 9 a.m. is what the judge said. And if there is a verdict, Vinnie, we will have...
This is the most important part. Ready? Listen closely, folks.
We will have at least an hour before that verdict is announced to allow people to arrive. So if we get a verdict at 10:30 Tuesday morning, we would read the verdict at noon.
At noon, got it. Yeah, I can do the math on that. So you'll have time, but you want to be the first to know. You got to be watching, and then you'll know exactly when it's going to happen. This is amazing. Chanley Painter, stay here. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, this trial has taken on a life of its own. We're going to trace the evolution of Depp v. Heard in Fairfax County, Virginia.
at umgc.edu.
There's a huge trial taking place just over there. Are you familiar?
No.
There's a really big trial taking place like one block over. Have you heard of it?
No. Neither have I.
You've seen all the hoopla in town, right?
Yeah, it's insane. I was driving past the court yesterday and I didn't even realize what was going on, but yeah.
Now you know.
Now I know, and I'm very anxious for Johnny Depp to come out and say hello to all of us.
They had no idea. The last time I was here at the beginning of this trial, right around the corner from here, coffee house, busy coffee house, nice treats, by the way. Nobody knew what was going on. Now the world knows what's going on in the courthouse behind us. Unbelievable. This case taking on a life of its own, and to see the change on the ground here in Fairfax, unbelievable. Let's remind you of where we were and how far this trial has taken off as one of the all-time biggest cases Court TV has ever covered.
I came here with very little expectations. I am not a Johnny Depp huge fan, but I don't know anything about Amber Heard, really.
You want to see them, is what he said.
Morning, Captain Jack.
Hello, chum.
How are you?
Better than I deserve, eh? Considering I was marooned on that godforsaken spit of land for over 40 days and 40 nights.
Does anyone have... Stop it! You're not seeing Johnny Depp! You're not going to show your in my face! Yeah, no, go ahead!
We're here to support Amber Heard.
So do you believe her claims?
Yeah, it's definitely past belief.
Unbelievable evolution. Now, let me put this a graph up on a poll that was taken by Axios that they posted, talking about how interested the public was in this trial versus other stories in the news. Like, #1 over Elon Musk, more than 4 times Joe Biden. The Supreme Court leaked abortion opinion, more than 5 times greater. The Ukraine war, more than 6 times greater. Bigger than inflation and infinitely bigger than COVID-19 at this point. This story was the biggest story online in the nation. Chanley Painter with us here and has lived through all of it as this thing is, and we've seen the evolution right here at the courthouse. We saw it in those clips. I mean, growing from a few people to hundreds of people.
Hundreds of people, a lot of some issues even. We saw the fight break out the other night here over a spot in line because there's only 100 seats, Vinnie, that are handed out with the wristband to get inside the courtroom. There's 50 in the overflow courtroom. And we also play video of them. Now they changed the rules, right? So you can't line up until 1 a.m. out front of this courthouse. So they gather across the street and run over here to try to wait in line to get a wristband. And I have to tell you, being in that courtroom, especially days like today, I mean, it's worth it to me. I'd probably wait all night too.
Yeah, it's super intense. One thing that's been impressive here, though, is the judge's control of that courtroom.
Oh, yes.
Because this could run out of control. It could be a circus, but it's not because of the judge.
Right. Judge Penny has karate. She is a former Marine, first of all, so she runs a tight ship. And she comes across so nice, especially during objections. She'll say, okay, overruled. Okay, approach the bench. But today, Vinny, I think the gallery really got under her skin because Amber Heard's on cross-examination. It's tense inside the courtroom. The gallery's gasping, groaning, growling at times to the point Ben Rottenborn asked for a sidebar, and then this happens. Let's watch.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, I would ask that there be no words or no phrases, no words, no sounds at all coming from you. If I hear one more sound, I will clear the gallery and we will continue this testimony without anybody in the courtroom. Understood? Good.
That was the most stern I've heard Judge Karate speak the entire trial today.
Absolutely. I mean, she's very reasonable, but, you know, this is her courtroom.
Yes.
And this is a trial, and this is serious. There's a lot at stake for both litigants, a lot of money, a lot of time invested into this as well. And it's just, whether it's the biggest case in the world or the smallest, court decorum is court decorum.
And a big shout out to the deputies that work with her, the bailiffs here. Excellent, excellent work.
Great job all around. Speaking of great jobs, how about Chanley Painter? Amazing work. Get some rest.
Yes.
Big day tomorrow. A verdict can happen when?
Tomorrow.
At any moment.
Yes.
Once they get the case.
I'm bringing the verdict pizza.
All right. When we come back, folks, Chanley Painter will be gone, but we'll bring in our legal think tank and break down the strategy in the courtroom for tomorrow.
X 180 from Force Factor.
In Fairfax County, Virginia, another big day in Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard as Amber takes the stand once again.
Johnny promised me that if I ever left him, he'd make me think of him. People want to kill me, and they tell me so every day.
And faces another intense cross-examination by Camille Vasquez.
I know how many people will come out of the woodwork to be in support of Johnny.
So you think Ms. Moss needs to come out of the woodwork?
We also take a look at who has the best arguments to make during closing arguments tomorrow with our think tank. And on the docket, the latest on next year's biggest trial, the doomsday couple, Lori and Chad Daybell, accused of murdering her children and burying them in his backyard. Plus, the jury will be deliberating tomorrow, but our 13th juror question to you tonight: when did you make up your mind about what happened in Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard? Buckle your seatbelts. This hour of closing arguments starts right now. I'm Vinnie Politan. Happy Closing Arguments Eve right here on Closing Arguments. Tomorrow is the big day. It all happens inside the courthouse behind me in Fairfax County, Virginia. Johnny Depp's attorneys, Amber Heard's attorneys, their last opportunity to take 6 weeks worth of evidence and piece it together and try to convince this jury that either Amber Heard is a big fat liar or Johnny Depp is a wife beater and sex abuser. That's what it's about. That is what is at stake tomorrow. But today, inside the courtroom, more drama, of course. Another big moment in the Sir rebuttal case. Amber Heard back on the witness stand, talking to this jury, talking to the world. Take a listen.
How have you suffered publicly as a result of the Depp-Waldman statements?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
I am harassed, humiliated, threatened every single day. Even just walking into this courtroom, sitting here in front of the world, having the worst parts of my life, things that I've lived through, used to humiliate me. People want to kill me, and they tell me so every day. People want to put my baby in the microwave, and they tell me that. Johnny threatened, promised me that if I ever left him, he'd make me think of him every single day that I lived. I'm not sitting in this courtroom snickering. I'm not sitting in this courtroom laughing, smiling, and making snide jokes. I'm not. This is horrible. This is painful. And this is humiliating for any human being to go through. And perhaps it's easy to forget that, but I'm a human being. And even though Johnny promised that I deserve this and promised he'd do this, I don't deserve this. I want to move on.
Powerful words from Amber Heard. That was on direct examination today, where she had an opportunity to speak her piece directly to this jury. And from her perspective, a very, very vivid description of what this has been like for her. And you think about this case, what is it about for Johnny Depp? Sort of the same thing, only all that humiliation he says he went through 6 years ago when he was accused of being a sex abuser, and 4 years ago when the op-ed was released and written. So each one experiencing pain, but at much different moments. Johnny Depp clearly not feeling the pain during this trial that Amber Heard is, but Amber Heard not feeling the pain that Johnny Depp felt 6 years ago. And that's what the case is about. Jury's got to make a decision here. Let's bring in tonight's think tank to get some perspective on today's testimony. First, from Amber Heard on direct. We've got with us Kyla Coleman, family law attorney, criminal defense attorney. She's in Orlando, Florida tonight. In Houston, Texas, Carmen Rowe, criminal defense attorney. And in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney, Emory University law professor, board member of the Georgia Innocence Project, Molly Palmer. Welcome to Closing Arguments Eve, ladies. Wow. Let's start with direct examination. Don't get into the cross, please. Hold back. Let's not talk about the cross of Amber Heard yet. But the direct examination, Kyla Coleman, what did you think of Amber Heard's words, what she said, what she described? Did she make the impact on direct?
No, I'm really totally over Amber at this point. It's almost as if her face is not lining up with what her testimony is mentioning. It's crocodile tears, and it really seems fake. It seems forced. I just am not believing her, and I think the jury might be thinking the same.
Carmen Rowe.
You know, Vinny, I thought this was the most impactful testimony I've seen from her, in that it seemed to be a little more genuine, honest. It felt like a Hail Mary, like this is my last opportunity to convince this jury in a desperate attempt to get them to believe what I'm saying. And I felt that when she was on direct. And I really didn't feel that in a lot of the other testimony. So I think this was her moment to shine in her mind.
Molly?
You know, Carmen's right. It was her last opportunity. And whether she thought it was her moment to shine or not, I just don't think that she got where she needed to be in terms of expressing genuine feelings here. And that's been her issue throughout this trial. I had high expectations for this rebuttal direct, and she did not meet them. She did the same thing that she did in their case in chief. And does she have any more credibility because of this today? I don't think so. I mean, she does make the point that she's been treated terribly as she walks into the courtroom and by the media, and maybe that's true, but that's not what this trial is about. So no, I don't think it helped her out.
But it seemed that she was trying to make the argument that that's part of her damage in this case. Mm-hmm. That the fact of going through this trial is part of the damage that's been done. And, you know, whatever was said back in 2020 by Johnny Depp's attorney, you know, whatever sort of online activity that created was probably 1/1 millionth or 1/1 billionth of what has happened since this trial started. So can she actually claim damages for what happened because of the trial itself? Molly, I'll start with you.
No, she can't. No, I mean, you have to show actual damages, right? You have to be, the jury's going to decide whether she gets punitive or compensatory damages. And you don't litigate a case and then say, by virtue of litigating this case, now I'm entitled to money. No, what she's pointed to and what they walked her through in their case in chief was that she lost contracts with L'Oreal, that she got her part in Aquaman 2 or whatever, you know, reduced in some way. I mean, what they've argued in this case is that this statement by Depp's attorney that she was perpetuating an abuse hoax resulted in her having damage to her career. But no, as a litigant, the parties do not bring cases and then say, by virtue of litigating these cases, I'm entitled to damages. No way, Amber Heard.
Right, so the TikTok abuse shouldn't count in the calculation if, in fact, she wins for damages and all this. All right, let's get to cross. I know you want to get to cross, Carmen. So here's Amber Heard on cross. Once again, this is the battle everyone's been talking about and will talk about for years. Camille Vasquez versus Amber Heard.
At the beginning of your cross-examination last week, I showed you an audio where you told Mr. Depp to tell the jury, tell the judge, tell the world that he is a victim of domestic abuse. Do you remember that?
That's correct.
And you testified you found it hard to believe that Mr. Depp would tell the world that he's a victim of domestic abuse, didn't you?
I said I find it hard to believe that he would do that knowing that he himself had beat me up for 5 years.
But he has told the world that he's your victim of domestic abuse, hasn't he?
Well, he started to say that only recently. He didn't make that claim up until very recently. So when we signed our divorce agreement and we signed a statement saying that neither party had ever said false claims for financial gain, it was relevant and important to me because I was the only one making the accusations. I was the only one making those claims. He wasn't doing that at the time, and he signed his name to it.
You didn't expect as many people to show up and testify on his behalf that did you?
Incorrect.
When you told this jury under oath that you never assaulted, actually, strike that, sorry, Your Honor. When you told this jury under oath that you punched Mr. Depp because you thought of Mr. Depp pushing Kate Moss down the stairs, you didn't expect Ms. Moss to agree to testify that never happened, did you?
Incorrect. I know how many people will come out of the woodwork to be in support of Johnny.
So you think Ms. Moss needs to come out of the woodwork to testify for Mr. Depp?
Everybody who was around in the 90s and the early aughts knew that rumor. I had heard that rumor from multiple people. Of course, that's what flashed through my head when my violent husband not only swung for me, but all of a sudden swung for my sister. Of course I thought of that. I did not expect her to show up or not expect her to show up. It didn't matter. It doesn't change what I believed at the time when we were on the stairs and I thought he was going to kill my sister by pushing her down the stairs.
You told this jury under oath that Mr. Depp was aggressive and trashed a trailer in Hicksville. You didn't expect the manager of the Hicksville property, Morgan Knight, to come forward and testify that was untrue, did you?
Incorrect. I've already been through trials with this man. I know how many people will come out in support of him.
When you told this jury under oath that you had no idea that the paparazzi would be at the courthouse on May 27th, 2016, you didn't expect a TMZ employee to show up to testify that TMZ had been alerted that you would be at the courthouse and knew exactly which side of your face to take a picture of, did you?
I know how many people will come out and say whatever for him. That's his power. That's why I wrote the op-ed. I was speaking to that phenomenon. How many people will come out in support of him and will fall to his power? He is a very powerful man, and people love currying favor with powerful men.
Currying
and I know
favor
that
and
firsthand. I've
risking
lived
jail
it.
time for committing perjury?
Excuse me? I didn't hear your question.
You didn't
Excuse
hear my
me?
question?
Ms. Vasquez, if you do mind, please just repeat the question. I didn't hear you.
Curry favor and commit perjury in this courtroom?
I have
For
seen
a
people
powerful
do this.
man?
I have seen people do this time and time again. That's why I wrote the op-ed.
All right, Carmen Rowe, can you believe the audacity of Kate Moss to come out of the woodworks to get her 15 minutes of fame during this trial?
Famous supermodel, what are you going to do? That was unbelievable. Don't you love it when Amber is cornered on the things that don't make sense that she has told this jury and the way she reacts? But I think this cross was everything because Camille Vasquez basically synthesized all of the inconsistencies that she couldn't answer for and put them all together, lined it up, and let her try to respond. And I love how aggressive she gets on cross, and she kind of brings out those fangs that we don't get to see as much on direct.
Yeah, Kyla, what I loved about Camille Vasquez's cross-examination is that she was bringing in all the other witnesses' testimony, and it was such an effective way to almost give them a preview of your closing argument tomorrow, and doing it with Amber Heard seated there. It was brilliant.
Exactly. Vinny, you know I love a good cross-examination. And Ms. Vasquez, I am a huge fan of. What I like is the fact that she asked straightforward questions, and Amber was trying to fudge and fumble. That is one thing that a jury is allowed to take into consideration, is the credibility of a witness. If you have a person here that is answering questions and is crying on direct examination, but then all of a sudden when it gets to cross-examination, she can't answer questions, she has an attitude, that is something a jury can definitely take into consideration. I am a fan of Ms. Vasquez. If she's on social media, I'm going to start following her. She's good.
She's really good. Okay, I have some more of the cross-examination for you, Molly, to listen to. Let's take a listen.
You told this jury that you had no idea that the press was going to be outside after you got the ex-parte TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I apologize. I must have misunderstood Ms. Vasquez. I actually had no idea whether they were going to be there or not. When I walked into the courtroom that day, it was completely quiet, still, empty.
In fact, you testified that you were, quote, shocked when you saw press when you were leaving the courthouse, yes?
Yes.
You weren't shocked at all, though, were you?
Incorrect. It was
You knew the press
horrifying.
would be at the courthouse, right, Ms. Heard?
No.
Well, you did bring your publicist to the courthouse with you on May 27th, 2016, didn't you?
I sure did. I'm a public figure. I brought my publicist in case it blew up. In case. And
You
I'm
actually
glad
had
I did.
alerted TMZ that you would be filing a TRO against Mr. Depp that very day,
No, I did
didn't
not.
you?
No, I did
The
not.
one day you didn't bother to wear makeup to cover up the mark on your face.
I did not call TMZ or any other news source or paparazzi source. No one.
Well, we
never
heard
did that.
testimony from former TMZ employee Morgan Tremaine yesterday, correct?
Did I hear his testimony?
Yes.
Yes, I was here.
Yes, and you heard Mr. Tremaine's testimony that he knew to dispatch the paparazzi to the courthouse on May 27th, right?
I heard him say that he knew that, yes.
Yeah, and that he dispatched paparazzi to the courthouse to capture a picture of an alleged bruise on the right side of your face. Do you remember him saying that?
I remember him saying that.
That information must have come from your team, right, Ms. Heard?
Absolutely not. Why would I want that? What actual survivor of domestic violence wants that?
I think there's an answer for why they might want that, Molly, isn't there?
Yeah, there might
Could have something to do with the.
I mean, the what? I mean, I think the
Go ahead.
This is so. This is so crucial here, right? Not only this part of the cross, but combined with that witness from TMZ with his black fingernail polish. I loved him so much. But this whole, this goes directly to her motives, right? Is she perpetuating an abuse hoax, this complicated hoax that she's perpetuating? If she's doing stuff like this, that is exactly perpetuating an abuse hoax. It is exactly aligned with Johnny Depp's theory of the case, that this is an elaborate ruse and she's gonna get everybody in on it for her own gain. But what I like even better, besides the fact that, this really hit that home, is that the way that Camille Vasquez is crossing her, you can see that she's temperamental and indignant, and she seems like she might fly off the handle. And that's what she also has to be careful about. And I wish she was a little bit better prepared by her lawyers. It's not just what she's saying here that's important, it's how she's saying it. I thought the cross was great, and I thought it made her look pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone that believes that TMZ got a tip from anyone other than Amber Heard or her publicist or someone directly associated with her. They knew which cheek to photograph, Kyla. They knew which cheek. That's not coming from some clerk at the courthouse.
Exactly. And Vinny, inside scoop here, I went to California for my birthday last year, and I did a TMZ tour, me and my mom together. TMZ let us know a lot of the tips they get are from the celebrities themselves. And the celebrities will stay put until the paparazzi comes by, until they take that picture, until they do that interview. I'm not fooled by Amber Heard. She knows what she's doing, and she's a great, I can't even say she's a great liar. She's a good actress, but she's not doing well on that stand.
All right, Think Tank staying with us the whole hour. And one of the reasons I wanted them here tonight, closing arguments tomorrow, all my guests are phenomenal inside the courtroom. So we're going to get their perspective on what some of the strongest arguments for both sides will be. All right, both sides. Johnny Depp's side and Amber Heard's. Don't go anywhere.
Your next witness?
Your Honor, the counterclaimant Amber Heard rests.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard all the evidence you're going to hear in this matter. What I propose doing is to go ahead and give you the rest of the afternoon off so you can have a good restful afternoon and evening, and we will do closing arguments tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., and then the case will be submitted to you for deliberations.
Big day tomorrow. This is Closing Arguments Eve right here on Closing Arguments. Let's bring back in our think tank because tomorrow's arguments could make all the difference in a case like this. Defamation, tough to prove for both sides, but it's doable. This case is winnable because somebody in that courthouse was lying, right? Absolutely lying. So we asked our three guests today, Kyla Coleman, Carmen Rowe, and Molly Palmer, to send us some of the big points that each side needs to make in their closing arguments tomorrow, and we picked a few of them. Let's begin with Johnny Depp's points to make. And Kyla, you said no medical records corroborating her accounts of domestic or sexual violence. How important is this, and why is this important?
It's super important because part of her op-ed was that she had been a victim of domestic and sexual violence, and it inferred that it could have been inferred that it was Johnny. So I didn't see any of that. I saw pictures that might have been filtered or photoshopped, but I didn't actually hear any medical testimony about what had happened to her allegedly. So that's a huge part of this trial.
You get up there and say, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only about what you heard, it's about what you didn't hear in this courtroom. I can hear it right now, ringing in my ears. Okay, Molly Palmer, you told us one of the points you think Johnny Depp's team should make is the audio recording that shows Amber admitting to hitting Depp and mocking any claim he might make of being a victim of domestic violence.
Absolutely.
How big is that one?
I think it is the biggest point. That's my number one point that I want to hear in closing. And I want to hear Camille Vasquez just play that recording maybe multiple times so the jury hears Amber Heard in Amber Heard's own voice saying, what are you going to do, Johnny? Tell the world that you, a man, are a victim of domestic violence? That is gold for Depp's team. It shows so much, so in such a short time frame in her voice. And so I do expect that it'll be played, and like I said, maybe even more than one time during tomorrow's closing.
I love the way you did the Amber Heard, impression. In one of my closing arguments, yeah, I did an impression of the defense attorney, and I got in trouble for it. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that. It was a great moment, though. It was great. Okay, Carmen Rowe, here's one of the points you think Johnny Depp's team should make. This is all about Amber Heard's 15 minutes of fame. Explain that one to me.
Well, I think this case is all about her 15 minutes of fame, and that's what I would drive home. That's the why, that's the what. And I think that her presentation throughout or performance throughout this trial suggests as much. That's why we're here. That's how this all got started. And I think it's a big part of who she is. And at the end of the day, credibility in this case is going to be what it turns on. And I think her motive in this 15 minutes of fame, from her disingenuous, op-ed to the TRO to everything since then, comes down to her trying to use the divorce with Johnny Depp, their relationship, to elevate her career and to, of course, trash his.
Yeah, and you could tie that right directly to that op-ed because the timing with Aquaman, the fact that she didn't write it, that it was written for her, and it was all sort of this coordinated PR move, literally written by the public relations department over over at the organization. Unbelievable. Now, I want to get to Amber Heard's points that you believe her team should make. And the reason these attorneys on our think tank are so great, that even if it's a case that they don't believe in, they understand the case and know the points that they have to make. And Johnny Depp's team has to know these points as well to be able to respond to them, just like Amber Heard's team needs to be able to respond to Johnny Depp's points. So, Carmen, I'll start with you. Points for Amber Heard's team to make. Mr. Depp is a monster who verbally and physically abused her for years in drug-induced and alcohol-fused episodes. Explain that one.
That's it. We're done. I'm joking. No, I think that's exactly what they're going to get up there and say. What is all this drug and alcohol abuse about? Obviously, he uses drugs and alcohol. Obviously, that's part of a lifestyle. But this is a lifestyle that she walked into thinking it was just drugs. It's alcohol. It's fun. It's fame. It's whatever. But alas, it's much more than that. It's a violent person who consistently escalated the abuse, escalated the alcohol, escalated the drug abuse. And that's why we've heard so much about that, is because that's what turns him into this monster, and that's the person she didn't know existed until she did. And when she did, and she was able to get away from this situation, she realized how horrible it really was and had to get that out for others to be aware.
Molly, here's the point you believe Amber Heard's team should make. Heard called herself a public figure representing abuse, not a victim or survivor of it. She does not even name Depp. And here you're referencing the op-ed itself, right?
Yeah, so I think what Amber Heard's team needs to do, and she kind of distanced herself from this when she was on the stand again today in rebuttal. She said, that's why I wrote it, because Johnny's so powerful. But if I was on Heard's team, because of her issues with likability, I would move them back to the law and the facts. And I would say, this is what the op-ed says. She represents domestic abuse. And you've heard the testimony and the evidence. If you believe that this is a violent, tumultuous, toxic relationship where both parties are mutually abusing each other, she can still truthfully represent domestic abuse. You don't have to believe every single word out of her mouth in this he said, she said battle to find that that op-ed was truthful, and truth is a defense to defamation. So I think they got to tie real close to the law and the facts as they have them to avoid all of the other issues with their case.
Okay, Kyla, this is an interesting one. You believe this is a point Amber Heard's team should make. Career was going downhill prior to the op-ed. And that's about the second element of the defamation, which is the actual damage.
Exactly. So if you have no damages here, I mean, that's part of your case. That's an element that is essential to proving this. And I mean, it's she testified to it that it had been going down for a while. And his career, his image, everything had been going down. So maybe she needs to harp on that. But can I just say that this is a dream team that we have here tonight? If I never needed to be or ever needed to be represented, I would call these two ladies in a heartbeat. They definitely know both sides of the law. If we could get together and work on the case, I would absolutely love that.
We'll get together.
All right. Our legal think tank / legal dream team will stay with us. When we come back, though, we're going to show you more of what happened inside the courtroom today and take you on the docket. This, obviously, this year's biggest trial of the century so far. But next year's biggest trial, big movement on that. What case am I talking about? You'll find out when we return.
at joincalibrate.com.
What do you hope to reclaim after this is over?
Protecting the secret that I did for as long as I did has taken enough of my voice. Johnny has taken enough of my voice. I have the right to tell my story. I have the right to say what happened to me. I have the right to my voice and my name. He took it long enough. I have a right as an American to talk about what happened to me, to own my story and my truth. I have that right. I hope to get my voice back. It's all I want. And I've said that from day one.
That's really an amazing moment because it's very rare that you will see someone turn to the jury and literally plead their case. And that's what Amber Heard did today on the witness stand. How the jury received it, we'll find out. They start deliberating tomorrow. Make sure you're watching Court TV. Such a big case, 6 weeks of evidence, and now closing arguments tomorrow morning on your front row seat to justice. This case, obviously, biggest case of the year, biggest case in years on Court TV. But there's another big one coming up, and I know already what next year's biggest case will be. It involves these two people, Lori and Chad Daybell, the so-called doomsday couple. Her children were murdered. His wife died. Her husband died. Her brother died. There's a bunch of bodies buried in his backyard. Insane case, but they're both charged with murder. And up until this point, different trial dates. And there was an argument about when these cases should be heard. Take a listen.
The court can find good cause to continue Lori Vallow Daybell's trial. As the defense team recognizes in their response, there is a voluminous amount, or I think a mountain of evidence to review in this case. Mitigation experts require significant time to review evidence and prepare argument, and a period of time beyond the 6-month statutory limit lessens the burden on defense counsel to be ready and decreases potential issues on appeal.
We'll be respectful of the court's decision, whether it's an October trial setting or not. The Mrs. Daybell still wants to exercise that right. She understands that we're working hard to get caught up. We're spending a lot of time, and her defense team is spending a lot of time getting caught up, since the state's been involved in this case for over 2 years, and she's been in jail for over 2 years, but her defense team is not. And so, but we're doing all we can.
Okay, so there were two trial dates, one in October for Lori Daybell and one next January for Chad. The judge finally released his decision. We have it for you tonight. Let me read it to you. It is determined that the state has met its burden by demonstrating substantial and competent evidence that good cause exists under IC 19-3501, requiring this court to extend the 6-month time for trial as prescribed by statute. Further, this court determines, based on the same rationale, memorandum decision and order granting state's motion to continue the trial to defendants' concurrent constitutional rights are not violated by extending the time for her trial an additional 82 days to commence, this is huge, on January 9th, 2023. Accordingly, the court will grant the state's motion to continue defendant's trial from October 11th, 2022 to January 9th, 2023. 2023. Now, the big reveal. This is the trial date. These are the defendants. It's Idaho versus Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell, beginning January 9th, 2023. Lock it in, folks. We are taking the show out to Idaho. The doomsday couple on trial for multiple murders. And of course, we'll bring it all to you. In the meantime, another story we've been covering for you here. Caitlin Armstrong is wanted out of Texas, a suspect in the murder of a love rival. And Matt Johnson, Court TV crime and justice reporter, has some big updates on that story for us tonight. He's in the studio. Matt, great to see you. What do you have for us tonight?
Great to see you too, Vinny, and you at home. Well, I spoke with Michael Armstrong earlier today. He's the father of the Texas yoga instructor police say is on the run tonight. On the run and in the middle of this deadly love triangle. He clearly believes that she is innocent, and he's worried about his daughter's safety tonight. Take a listen.
We can't imagine the pain that the Wilson family is going through. Our hearts go out to them. We would like to be left to be able to focus on Caitlin's safety and proving her innocence.
His daughter, Caitlin Armstrong, became the prime suspect in the killing of cyclist Anna Mo Wilson after a Jeep similar to the suspect's was caught on camera near the murder scene. The suspect's boyfriend, Colin Strickland, has told police that he was involved with both women, both the suspect and the victim in this case, saying that he had a fling with Wilson while he and Armstrong were on a break from their 3-year relationship. I want to show you pictures of the victim. We like to focus on the victims here. 25-year-old Anna Mo Wilson provided by her family these pictures here. Her brother telling Court TV that they are devastated, as you can imagine, and so is the cycling world. They describe Mo as someone who is talented, kind, and very caring. U.S. Marshals tell us that they believe that the suspect flew from Austin to Houston to New York after the murder. Anyone with any information in this case being asked to call U.S. Marshals at 1-800-336-0102, that number on your screen. Anybody, please come forward with information in this so-called love triangle. Vinny, a lot of questions still remain in this case.
Absolutely. And she's got to turn herself in. She knows that she's wanted. You got to turn yourself in. By the way, the fact that she has fled, if she's ever charged and brought to trial, can be used against her by the prosecution. It's in her best interest to just turn herself in sooner rather than later. Matt, thanks so much for that update and the insight from the family. Really do appreciate it. We'll see you soon. All right, folks, when we come back, time to hear from you, our 13th juror. Now, behind me in the courthouse tomorrow, the jury will finally have an opportunity to start to deliberate and make up their minds in this case. But I know many of you have already made up your mind. So that was my 13th juror question. When did you make up your mind in this case? Your answers, your verdict when we return.
What has it been like for you to listen to Ms. Heard's testimony at this trial?
Objection to relevance, Your Honor.
Oh, overruled.
Insane. It's insane to hear heinous accusations of violence, sexual violence, that she's attributed to me, that she's accused me of. I don't think anyone enjoys having to split themselves open and tell the truth. But there are times when one just simply has to, because it's gotten out of control. Horrible. Ridiculous, humiliating, ludicrous, painful, savage, unimaginably brutal, cruel, and all false. All false.
Roshine.com.
Tomorrow, I won't give you a time limit as far as how long you can deliberate in the afternoon into the evening. I will tell you, within reason, I will tell you I do not serve dinner, so keep that in mind, okay? You will not be deliberating on Saturday or Sunday or Monday, because Monday is a holiday. I would like you to have you back here Tuesday morning, at least by 9 o'clock. If you want to come earlier, that's up to you. You can decide as a group if you want to come earlier than 9 o'clock, but you have to be here at least by 9 o'clock to resume your deliberations again. And again on Tuesday night, and if you have to go to Wednesday or Thursday, that the time that when you take your breaks is up to you, as long as you take them together, as far as not having any deliberations unless all of the jurors are in the room at the same time. When you take your lunch is up to you. And then again in the evening, within reason, I'll let you go as long as you'd like to go.
The jury will have the case tomorrow in the courthouse behind me here in Fairfax County, Virginia. Then it'll be their turn to make up their minds about what happened here. But I know many of you have already made up your minds, and that was my 13th juror question. When did you make up your mind in this case? And we begin with our 13th juror comment of the day. Tonight, coming from Maggie, who says, I was convinced with the audio of Amber Heard taunting Johnny, quote, tell the whole world, Johnny, that you, a man, are a victim of domestic abuse. It was absolutely abusive to mock him, and he responded like a true victim. Molly Palmer, that sounds familiar. Did someone else mention Maggie? That earlier in the show?
Yes, Maggie and I are on the same page. That is, I think, the best thing that has come forward in this trial for Johnny Depp's team. And it happened so early on. We heard it so early on in this case. And it's just hard to recover from that. I think that Maggie is 100% right. I was right there with her. Once I heard that recording, it was it for me. Team Johnny.
Debbie tonight. I believed Amber Heard when she started to testify, and I did not believe Depp's story about how he cut off his finger. He was caught in a few lies on the stand. Carmen Rowe, let me ask you, if the jury believes either Johnny or Amber lied, can either of them overcome the lies and still win the case?
Vinnie, I think definitely this case is going to come down to credibility, but also the burden of proof, right? Which is not the same as a criminal matter. And so the jury is going to look at balancing, you know, what they believe, what they don't believe, but it doesn't have to be complete belief and it doesn't have to be completely a lie. And so when you deal with civil cases, it's a very different barometer. So yes, I think they could both be telling lies and still one could prevail over the other.
Evelyn tonight, I'm still waiting for closing arguments. I'd like to see how they timeline things. Kyla Coleman, what percent of jurors do you think wait to make up their minds until they hear those closing arguments?
Well, according to the law, I would hope that all of them would do that. You're supposed to wait until that time legally, but I don't know. I'm liking this lady, though. She would be a great person for a jury. But my mind is made up. I'm Team Johnny, hands down.
All right, Valerie tonight. When I heard the relationship was toxic and abusive before the marriage, it was clear to me that we will never know who was lying and who is telling the truth. Molly Palmer, let me ask you, what does the jury do in this case if they collectively can't figure out who's telling the truth?
Yeah, I think what the jury really needs to be instructed to do by both parties tomorrow is to remember what this is about, because there is a lot of extraneous, dramatic, salacious information that has been presented to them. And so the judge will instruct them, but both lawyers need to walk them through the elements of defamation, the burden of proof, and kind of handhold them to what's the essence of this case, because it's a lot of he said, she said, and lies and, crazy details. And we don't want the jurors to be distracted by those things. We want them to focus on the law, apply the facts to the law, and make a finding, and that's it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I know every judge just wants a verdict. Please, just deliver me a verdict. Christine, the audio recording where Amber taunted and belittled Johnny after admitting to punching him, she was clearly the bully. We witnessed how fast her personality could change during her testimony on the stand. Sybil comes to mind. Carmen, we only have about 15 seconds, but your thoughts about Sybil.
Sybil's real. I think that, again, the credibility in this case is significant. I couldn't agree with this viewer more. I think we're going to see how it all shakes out tomorrow. And as you said earlier, anytime this could get to a verdict.
A verdict can happen at any moment, Kyla Coleman, Carmen Rowe, Molly Palmer, thank you so much. Appreciate your valuable time, your great insight. We'll see you again really, really soon. All right, folks, make sure you're watching tomorrow. And once you start watching, you can't stop. Keep watching until there's a verdict. It can happen literally at any moment. I need your help before we go, though. I have a picture to show you. This is Robert Littlefield, just 13 years old, missing out of Providence, Rhode Island since May 3rd of 2022. If you see Robert, please call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Providence Police Department. Let's see if we can get Robert back to safety. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be here tomorrow. Have a great night. And as always, don't forget to hug the kids.